Before we begin, I would like to make one thing clear. Need for Speed is still my favorite racing video game franchise, despite the fall from grace from 2008 to 2019, ending with the release of Need for Speed Heat. Most of my memories of video games from my childhood included Need for Speed Carbon on the original Xbox. I played through Need for Speed Underground, Underground 2, Most Wanted, and Carbon. These, as well as Hot Pursuit 2, were the only releases from the Need for Speed franchise on the original Xbox, and this detail will be important later in the video. After the release of the Xbox 360, the original Xbox was quickly abandoned by Microsoft and third-party developers. The market share for the original Xbox, while impressive for a newcomer, was absolutely obliterated by Sony's PlayStation 2. Sony won the 6th generation of home consoles with an affordable system that in the right hands could truly push amazing graphics. Considering the PS2 sold over 121 million systems, people were not exactly willing to ditch it. Considering Sony didn't exactly convince the public that they needed a PlayStation 3 back in 2006. Sony's marketing of the PlayStation 3 demonstrated it was a premium product with advanced hardware, Blu-ray playback, and a focus on multimedia. Sounds like a familiar Xbox system that was absolutely trashed when it was revealed. This was a radical shift from the PlayStation 2, as Sony marketed that system as an affordable budget system with DVD playback. When Sony unveiled their new system would cost in the ballpark of $600, the general public responded with their wallets. Furthermore, Sony certainly lost a significant chunk of goodwill with comments suggesting consumers work a second job to afford the system. This, combined with the high failure rate of both original Xbox 360s and PlayStation 3s, artificially extended the lifespan of the PS2 significantly. The PS2 and the Nintendo Wii shared the same market at that point. Both systems were underpowered and they were everywhere. The Wii was a fad. However, it could not be denied that there were plenty of Wii owners for developers and publishers to create games for. However, the Wii was a victim of its own success. Because the system was everywhere, and it could not render games with the graphics seen on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, B teams were enlisted to port these games. Shovelware Games bloated both libraries of the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo Wii from 2007 to 2014. Some games were good, however, a lot were what appeared to be almost held together by duct tape. Many games were low-quality efforts or simply downgrades. The game that we are analyzing today was probably held together by duct tape. And if you haven't looked at the title of this video, the game that we are looking at is Need for Speed Undercover on the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo Wii, developed by Exient Entertainment. Before we begin our analysis, I would just like to make one disclaimer. The footage you see in the background, unless otherwise specified, has been recorded with an emulator playing these games on my personal computer. This may not be indicative of the experience that you may have when playing this on a console. Anyways, back to the video. Exient Entertainment's track record is pretty solid. Many of their efforts were commercially successful and weren't exactly offensive. And more often than not, their efforts would translate what the bigger budget game was supposed to be like in a somewhat believable way. However, their version of Undercover was what we would now consider a quote asset flip. The game uses the same engine as Need for Speed Carbon and reuses assets from Carbon, Most Wanted, and Underground 2. There is an unused credit string in the files of the PlayStation 2 version directly from Need for Speed Carbon in the game files.
Let's alert the city here. He's going through this electrical plant here.
The drivable areas are the same from Most Wanted, just rearranged and edited to match the theme of the bigger brother. While the city of Rockport is a great map, the gameplay is not designed with this map in mind. Many racetracks, especially circuits, are in weird locations that often have sharp and abrupt corners, as if the developers created more tracks out of necessity rather than quality. But just to make things clear, both games have padded out runtimes. However, this version of Undercover is padded out with endless cop pursuits.
On Mountain Highway, passing over to Channel 7. Correction, that's Channel 16. Suspect's driving a black Toyota Supra.
So, to briefly explain what I am talking about, the pursuit system in Most Wanted functions somewhat along the lines like this. Your objective is to evade. However, in order to progress the storyline in Most Wanted, you had challenges to complete called milestones. These also acted as multipliers when you evaded, raising your bounty which was required to progress. The police gave drivers heat levels. These started at 1 and capped at 5. Heat level 1 was basic civvy cruisers with a maximum of 5 following at one time, and if all units are immobilized, backup won't arrive for around 3 minutes. And as the heat level increased, more cruisers would be on your tail, the police would use more advanced tactics like roadblocks, spike strips, and helicopter overwatch. This system was engaging because it was designed as a risk-reward loop. The longer your pursuit lasted, along with more destruction and completion of milestones, you would get a bigger reward upon evading. However, this increased the stakes. When your heat level would rise, it would be more difficult to evade. This creates an adrenaline rush, as you have to make a choice of whether to continue and rack up your score or evade while you can. In Undercover, in both versions, you can only complete these challenges one at a time. And in this version of the game, the spawn rates for cops are outrageous. This leads to pursuits lasting so much longer than necessary. I go as far as I can to avoid these pursuits as much as possible because it simply isn't fun to escape the cops in this game. By overcompensating with high spawn rates and backup that spawns almost right in front of you, the pursuits in this game are just bad. I don't feel accomplished when I evade. I feel defeated because more often than not, the AI drivers do something stupid that allows me to evade. The driver opponents, whether it be cops or other racers in this game, do what is called rubber band. This means that the drivers catch up faster than normally possible to create a sense of challenge. When designing these systems, the goal is for the casual gamer to not know it's in place. When video game AI behaves like a normal person would, it immerses you in its world. While you probably know that the AI can, quote, cheat to stay competitive, when the system is implemented in a way that AI drivers are both competitive and believable, the illusion of human drivers is created. The illusion that the AI behaves like real-world drivers is the end goal. And unfortunately, the rubber banding in this game is very obvious. When the AI records a top speed of 294 miles per hour in a vehicle that can reach 180 miles per hour tops, the illusion is gone. When collisions from behind cause your vehicle to be sent flying, the illusion is gone. When police units pop in 50 feet ahead of you, the illusion is gone. When AI drivers recover from head-on collisions with 18-wheeler trucks in seconds, the illusion is gone. This is where this version of the game is at its weakest. All you need to do is either race in a highway battle or outrun event, or simply start a police chase. This is all you need to do to see Undercover at its weakest. 2 of the most common event types in this game. Events where you will sink most playtime of this game's bloated 14-hour campaign. This makes the game a chore to complete. While at a surface level, this game is fun, and it is somewhat more enjoyable than the bigger brother version, this is still a slog to complete. When I am saying things to myself like, oh my god, another long pursuit, or oh my god, the rubber banding, as well as I'm tired of this game, that means it isn't fun. I've played shorter games that are so much more enjoyable because they don't need to pad out the length of this game with garbage. While I will argue that this version of the game did not need to exist, the whole release was a dumpster fire regardless because of how rocky the development was across the board. But for what it's worth, it does play like Carbon and Most Wanted, but that just cannot save this game from being torn apart. Everything that made Most Wanted and Carbon fun has been changed for the worse. Pursuits are too long and frustrating. AI drivers make highway battles take 1,000,000 years, and the whole game consists of repurposed assets from games created 2 to 4 years before this was. This game shares more under the hood with Underground 2 than Undercover on the 7th generation of game consoles. So, in conclusion, had I got this for Christmas as a kid, I probably would have liked it more than Undercover. I remember when I was playing it for the first time as an 8-year-old and I didn't particularly care for it. But this release still is jank. That's the best word I can give it, is janky. It was held together by duct tape, and I think really that's just the best I can give it. I would like to say thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in another video soon. Have a good one.
You suck!
These fresh skid marks leading away from the scene of the crime could be a clue. But who's to say, really? These fresh skid marks leading away from the scene of the crime could be a clue. But who's to say, really? Skid marks, skid marks, skid marks, skid marks, skid marks.